I'm very delighted that with Michael Cech, we have been able to win an excellent pipeline expert for the moderation. Michael is head of pipeline JVs, shipping and HSSE at OMV Refining and Marketing in Austria. In his role as chairman of the ad hoc working group on pipeline theft of Konkawi, Michael collected with a group of experts a comprehensive overview on protective measures based on best-in-class measures and learnings of the industry. He's also a member of the Pipeline Technology Conference Advisory Committee. Thank you very much. Please, Michael, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dennis, and welcome all to this virtual roundtable. I'm also very happy that I'm joined with three absolute global experts from the pipeline industry. Marcelino Gomes from Brazil, Olugbenga Adebayo, formerly from Nigeria originally, now working from Canada, and Alvaro Castaneda from Colombia. Because already last year in the Pipeline Technology Conference in Berlin, I think we all agreed that illegal tapping is a true global challenge. And I think it's very good that the industry focuses for many years on this topic and to develop countermeasures how to prevent this. As I said, we all agreed in last year's Pipeline Technology Conference that this is a global challenge, which might have tremendous impact, not only tremendous economical impact on pipeline companies, but also tremendous environmental impact in the various countries. And that was the main reason why, and Dennis already mentioned it, Konkawi installed the ad hoc working group to work on countermeasures and to share experience from the various countries. And what we came up as a result of this ad hoc group was a best practice document where we shared the experience from all the various pipeline operators in the various countries. And what we defined is best practices not only in technical measures, how to prevent illegal tapping, but also how to improve communication, because that's what we also agreed on. It's not just a technical issue, it's also a communication matter. And I gave already this experience in last year's meeting that in Austria we have very good experience by adding all the other eyes along our pipelines, mainly the landowners, the authorities, and to have them involved in the communication chain around pipeline operations. And what we also learned is that cooperation and best practice sharing between the various industries and with all the stakeholders is a very important tool to decrease illegal tappings. What I would also like to encourage you during this the round table, that you post your questions and that we will do our utmost to answer them. Finally, if I take a look at the latest Konkawi report, I'm happy to say that obviously all our measures and all our efforts, they pay off, because when we look at the development of illegal tappings over the years, when we started to have a focus on this topic, we started with 54 illegal tappings throughout the Konkawi countries in 2014. In 2015, it was at 87, and then the journey went down. 2016, we were at 60 illegal tappings. 2017, we had 11 illegal tappings, and in 2018, which is the latest and current report of Konkawi, we landed at 10 illegal tappings. So you see, the trend is satisfactory, the trend is going down, but what we also agreed in Konkawi is that the problem is not going away. So the bad guys obviously are still there, and we still need to put all our forces together to still work to get the numbers down, because 11 illegal tappings still might 11 times lead to tremendous environmental and financial damages. With that, I would like to hand over to our first panelist, and I would like to introduce to you Marcelino Gomes. Marcelino Gomes has tremendous experience working for Petrobras. He's a mechanical engineer. Marcelino joined Petrobras in 1987, so quite a time ago. From 2008 to 2013, he was director president of a refinery. From 2015 to 2020, he was executive manager, developing, applying solutions against illegal tapping. So you see, he brings in tremendous experience. And after 34 years working for Petrobras, he retired, and he recently founded PIPELINEBRAZIL, still focusing on safety aspects of pipelines. So Marcelino, the floor is yours.
Okay, Mike. Good morning from Brazil. Good afternoon from Europe. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to be here to share my experience and my knowledge about these big problems that we have in the world. It's a pleasure to share this experience with our colleagues connected here today. Before starting my consideration, I'd like to say that illegal tapping in pipelines has been the greatest challenge that I have faced in my 35 years of pipeline experience. Why? Very simple. Because the solution is not based on technical issues. My first consideration is that there is no single approach to the legal tapping solution. I believe that we need an integrated and multidisciplinary solution. We have to invest in security, intelligence, technology, new and specific legislation, social programs with local communities living along the right of way, communication with our partners, training and liaison with the police department and others. 4 years ago, Petrobras in Brazil developed an internal procedure named in Portuguese, Regra da Margarida, in English, DESARROLLOS methodology, where each petal of this flower represents one of these disciplines. This solution, it's a combination of these initiatives. Each country has different boundary conditions, and so each discipline should be given an appropriate weighting. That is, each country, each company has a different solution composition. Another consideration, another aspect is that this is a global problem and is spread all over the world. And my inquiries show that only 3 countries are free of this big problem. And in all these cases, the oil products price are cheap, very cheap compared with the average earnings. We need to understand the difference between 2 simple verbs, detect and locate. We need to differentiate between leak detection and the precise location. Leak detection will inform us that there is a leak spill or a theft. But we also need to know exactly where is occurring this event. I mean, to pinpoint the legal tapping or a leak is very important for us. There is a total difference between to detect and to locate. And finally, in the matter of illegal tapping, pipeline companies from different parts of the world, we have to share our experience. We are not competing with each other. So it is very important for our industry to collaborate, to share our experience, and to pool our knowledge and our technology. Thank you. It's my first consideration. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much, Marcelino. And as you rightly said, it's a global topic. And as I said, it's also a global roundtable. So I would like to introduce the next panelists to you all. The ones joining last year's Pipeline Technology Conference might remember Olugbenga Adebayo. He was working formerly for Shell Nigeria. He was the head of pipelines and flow lines of Shell Nigeria. He holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and a master of science in subsea engineering. And after his career in Nigeria, he is currently working as an independent consultant out of Canada and is a director of WhetEdge Consulting based in Calgary in Canada. So Olugbenga, I invite you for your speech. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It's a beautiful morning here. Good day to everybody around the world. This is a very, very important topic, and I believe that it's beginning to get some attention on a global scale. Rightly so, because it's required. Let me put it this way, just to set a context, because I know more of Nigeria than the global world. You can imagine a criminal gang in the Niger Delta hot tapping into a trunk line for 30 minutes and stealing product worth $250,000. $250,000 in 30 minutes. This is a huge problem and is very lucrative to the criminal gang. In the Niger Delta today, depending on who you ask, about 70% of youth between the age of 15 and 24 live below the poverty line. And you find out that the unemployment rate in the area is about 40% compared to the rest of the country, which is at about 14%. So that lays the land for what is happening. You have a very expensive product being mined, and yet you have poverty in the area. And then these individuals can connect with international gangs, do local refining, and then sell these products for a lot of money. And that is the scenario we find ourselves in. So you can imagine that the laborer who is involved in illegal refinery earns what a school teacher will earn in 2 months. He can earn this money in just a week. So the incentive to rupture into pipelines, to tap into pipelines is quite significant. And I've heard the context that, technology is not the only solution we need to be looking at. We must look beyond technology. I remember when I was last year, I retired from Shell last year. I look young, but I'm retired. I get a pension from Shell. And what happened was that between 2012 and 2018, there were over 1,160 illegal hot tap connections into Shell lines. Yeah. Before I got here today, I got a text from one MD of a local company who is a friend of mine, and he told me, he said, Benga, we're losing about 30% of our production every day due to illegal connection. And put that into perspective. If you produce 100,000 barrels per day, that is 30 to 35,000 barrels every day is stolen from your pipeline. But you see, the challenge is that the world is different. Different issues everywhere. In South America, for example, people steal oil to produce cocaine. Right? In Peru, in Colombia, oil is used for refining cocaine. In Europe, for example, diesel and petrol are stolen from areas with low tariff and VAT and sent to the UK, Netherlands, and the rest of them. But in Nigeria, it's peculiar in the sense that detection is not the problem. If I said it in the lab PTC, if I put 100,000 barrels in the line, I get 80,000 barrels at the end of the line. I know that somebody has stolen 20,000. So sophisticated technology to detect does not help because detection is visible, is really visible. The area of location is quite important. Where is this theft going on? Yeah. But the challenge we are having in the Niger Delta is that the areas are so remote that some locations it takes 3 days to actually reach. By the time I was leaving Shell in Q1 of last year, there were over 100 hot tap points discovered. And for every one we discover, or every 2 we discover, there's one that we're not looking at, we're not seeing at all. So locating these positions is critical, but sometimes it takes 3 days to actually get to location. So if you give me a technology, for example, that can tell me immediately where the location is, I may not be able to reach the spot for 3 days because it's in a very remote location. There are armed gangs around there that can, engage you with weapons and so on and so forth. So I think that the critical part to this is response. So in Europe, you have law enforcement agencies that can pick up the phone and call the cops, and they'll be there in minutes. But in the jungle of Africa, you cannot do that. So you have to prioritize your line. If you have 30 lines, and say, okay, there are 4 critical lines that must be kept open. Those are the ones that we'll focus on. Then there are 2 lines that, there are small lines, we cannot focus on them unless we have environmental pollution. That is when we're going to go there. I've talked a lot. This is a very huge topic. I'm hopeful that at the next PTC conference, we'll be able to do justice to this, but the time is really short to go into all this stuff. So please ask questions and then we can discuss. Thanks, Mike. Sorry, I took a lot of time.
No problem, Olugbenga. Many thanks for your input, and I really can confirm the only sign that you retired is that your gray became a little grayer. But I would not consider that you are a retired person. Great to have you with us. So we continue our journey across the world, and we move to Colombia, and we invite Alvaro Castaneda to give us his input. Alvaro is a real expert. He's an engineer. He's an expert in design, construction, maintenance, and operation of pipelines. In Colombia, he has led successful processes as the operation and maintenance of 8,500 kilometers of oil pipelines. So that's really a dimension you have to take care of. And now he works as an external advisor to the repair project for illegal tapping at ARPO. That's the Regional Association of Companies in the Oil, Gas, and Biofuel sector in Latin America and the Caribbean. Alvaro, great to have you with us and inviting you to give us your input.
Okay, very good morning to you. Thank you, Michael. Good morning, and thank you for inviting me to share my experiences. In Colombia, at Ecopetrol, we had a success case in controlling the theft of hydrocarbons. Can you hear me? Thank you. So we wanted to share with you this experience. Ecopetrol has a network of 8,500 kilometers where they transport biofuels. In 2002, Ecopetrol was losing around 7,200 barrels per day as a product of theft, which was mainly performed using illegal tapping. So at the time, we performed a strategy to be able to control this problem. This problem provided losses of around $150 million per year, as well as a loss of human lives and environmental damage too. So what did we do at the time? We established a comprehensive strategy through which we achieved results where that loss of 7,200 barrels was reduced to less than 150 barrels per day in 2008. And we'd like to share this success story with the whole world. How did we create this strategy? So the first thing we did was analyze the supply chain of hydrocarbons that we had in the country. Then within our company, we acknowledged that we had a problem. So that was the first step that we took. We needed to understand that we had a problem both in our company and also in the country. after that, alongside the different institutions in the country, we started to establish actions, and this was really important for us. It was really important to have a follow-up and control scheme. And this is how Ecopetrol was able to create an area or a department within the company that was exclusively devoted to performing follow-up, control, and to be able to link everybody so that they could coordinate all the different activities taking place in governmental entities, but also within our company. As my colleagues on the panel mentioned, it's not just a technological issue. The first thing we had to do was change the legal framework of the country to make sure that this crime of illegal tapping would become a crime with consequences. We also had to work closely with the communities because they are largely affected by this problem. And my colleague was talking about the same experience in Nigeria. So we really have to work together to make sure that communities feel that they're being accompanied by the institutions that are going to help them control this. With technology, we did something quite important. I mean, there's a lot of technology on offer. So the important thing is that you should choose the appropriate technology to be able to control this problem. We can't use the same or every kind of technology in every place. So it's really important to define which technology is going to work for us. The other thing we need to do is make sure that we have the right operational practices. So with our operators of pipelines, we have certain practices that hadn't been designed to assist in operations where they had fuel operations. So we had to make sure that our operators were committed to making sure that their practices deliver the right information for technology and for the technology that's being used to send information to authorities so that the police can react. That's another really important topic. In Colombia, we helped, or we made sure that the police would be committed to this problem as well, so that they can respond quickly and arrive at the place where these criminals are. So this was all done comprehensively with really effective follow-up. The follow-up was performed by the President's office, so the President of the Republic, and so it was a connection with the CEO of the company. So we had a manager for loss control, and he would report directly to the director of the company or the CEO and also the President of the Republic. And this is how we managed to achieve this success case. So we went from 7,200 barrels to less than 150 per day. So this is why we are sharing this with all countries. Marcelino was saying before that, we need to share this information, and these success stories really need to be taken to other places. And this is how at SAVÁ, with our comprehensive solutions, we accompanied Petrobras in Brazil so that they can make the most of this strategy and the most of our experience in what they were building. So this is what I wanted to share. It's really everybody's problem, and clearly the products that what we're transporting through these pipelines is money. So I think we're all really undergoing a very complex situation. Thank you very much for your time and for listening.
Thank you very much, Alvaro. So we already got a significant number of questions. So I think the topic is really very interesting to everybody. So I would like to take up the questions coming in. One interesting question which was raised: which countries are free of illegal tapping? And that might be a question very difficult to be answered. But Marcelino is raising his hand, so maybe you can enlighten us on this.
Okay, Mike. I was trying to mention countries and companies, just to minimize conflicts of perception and visions. But in this case, in my inquiries and my evaluation, only 3 countries are free of this problem: United States, Canada, and Venezuela. Okay, why? Because the oil price in this country, compared with the salaries and the average earnings, is cheap, and then it's It's the problem, okay? And then Canada, United States, and Venezuela, okay? We know that we can find this problem in Europe, okay? We can find this problem in Asia, Africa, Central America, South America, but it's funny, only these three countries. I'd like to receive more feedbacks from my colleagues from the international pipeline community. But when Petrobras noticed this problem in our pipelines, we have decided to invite the companies to come to Brazil to share with us their experience. We invited people from Nigeria. We invited people from Europe. We invited people from Colombia. We invited people from Mexico just to collect more information. Because when we discovered this problem in Brazil, when we noticed that we had this problem, we decided to study this problem in depth. And then, in my vision, my perception, only these three countries. Okay? Thank you, Mike.
Okay, thank you. There's also a question came in from Nelson. Nelson stated that each country has its peculiarities, and it's the industry responsibility to implement measures to prevent theft. And what do we think about to promote international cooperation on the sharing of best practices? I think this comes back to what we have done in Concave, that we agreed that the sharing of experience is really important, but it leads us also to one aspect. If we share experience, we might share this experience also with the bad guys. So do you have any idea how we prevent that also the bad guys contribute or profit from our experience? Any idea on that? Maybe Olugbenga, I think we discussed it already also last year, or Alvaro.
Yeah, so the thing for me is that, the solution is beyond technical, right? Even so, I agree, data is a big problem. How many, like in Nigeria now, is in my view, is a black box. When I was trying to prepare for PTC this year, I struggled with data. I couldn't find the right data, the quantity of data I needed to actually take a look at what is the trend, what are the causes. And I think what Concave is doing is really important. But let me put it this way. As long as the environment remains unchanged, even if we improve the technology, you will still have people having the right incentive to still break into the lines. So it must be in parallel that we improve technology and at the same time improve the livelihoods or create an environment that is sustainable for people. While I was checking, I looked at it. I thought it was poverty at first, but I quickly discovered that it wasn't so. This is happening in rich countries and happening in poor countries. At some point, I felt maybe it was oil-producing countries. No, I saw it in oil-producing countries and in non-oil producing countries. At some point, I felt maybe it was conflict, like in Libya, Iraq. It's in conflict zones, it's in non-conflict zones. So I think the point is that wherever there's oil, there's theft. Yeah? Wherever you find oil, there is always theft. So the point is that in a community, there will always be a small percentage of people that are criminally bent. There's a small level of criminality. So it will never go away completely. But at the end of the day, what you want to do is to help the general community to be not involved in this kind of activities. So there's a, I was reading, my view is that there has to be the right economy. You have to lift people out of poverty. You have to help communities to be self-sufficient, such that it's no longer attractive to hot tap into pipelines.
Alvaro, yeah.
Yes, in my opinion, besides building all of this, we also need to find new practices, good practices, new technologies to attack the crime. So we need to be one step ahead of these criminals because they're very creative as well. So they change the way they perform this crime, depending on other factors. So we need to have integrated communities, as you mentioned at Konkawi, and as we have done in these conferences, to share practices and to see how we can make sure that we are one step ahead of these crimes and these practices of criminals.
Thank you, Alvaro. Marcelino already mentioned the mix of technologies and the prevention of illegal tapping as a set of various methods. So we got a question from Gleb, and Gleb mentioned here, is theft detection and leak detection system ought to be one system, or is it better to use separate systems based on different technologies? Marcelino, could you come back on your thought on this one, on various technologies to be used? You need to unmute. Right. Marcelino, please unmute.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry about that. When Petrobras noticed the increase in illegal tapping in Brazil, Petrobras decided to study this problem in depth, okay? And we invested in considering all technology. We have invited people from our R&D center in Rio de Janeiro to identify and to test some technology, okay? And then we invested in all technology, okay? Satellite image, drones, balloons, fiber sensors, optical, acoustic sensors, inline inspection designed to detect illegal tapping, okay? Sniffer dogs, okay? We invested in all directions, okay? And we know that there are 3 or 4 most useful technologies. But as I mentioned before, there is no single solution to this problem, okay? However, 3 technologies are being used to help to deal with this problem. I think that one is a negative pressure wave. With this technology is able to identify and to locate, to pinpoint the source of the problem from the control room, okay? The second one is the fibers, okay? It's a fiber optic cables, okay? Could be extended along the pipeline, along the right-of-way to detect any vibration from the right-of-way or from the soil. It's very interesting because it will show to operators in the control room where the criminals, where the gangs begin their activities. I think that's, okay? And the last one, I think that's a traditional inline inspection tool, smart pigs, intelligent pigs, okay? I think that's the best solution in the case of extra difficult to locate, okay? The extra difficult location, okay? I think that's the 3 most useful technology. But Petrobras has been developing new and specific technology. We have been trying to add, to incorporate artificial intelligence, big data, and another aspect that we have to use more sensors, and more sensors. I think that the future of sensor engineering, we have to invest in this direction, sensor engineering. Okay, Mike, thank you. Thank you for the question.
I think this answers already also the question Luis posted here. Luis asked here, is the use of technology complementary to normal right-of-way surveillance? And I think you gave already the answer, yes, I think it is, because it goes far beyond the normal right-of-way surveillance, and it's using different technologies. It's adding communication, alignment with others. So I think it's definitely an add-on to the normal right-of-way surveillance. I think you agree on this, Marcelino, right?
Yeah, but I think that we have to understand that the problem is divided in 2 environments. One is a rural case, and another one is an urban case. In Brazil, we have the both case. Okay, when we have to combat, when we have to try to pinpoint illegal tapping, we have to use different technology when we have the problem in rural areas, and we have the problem in the other areas. Okay, and then there's I think that's totally different when you talk about rural and urban. Okay, rural, it's one kind of technology. Okay, urban is different. Okay,
yeah.
We have a problem inside the Amazon forest, and we have a problem inside the São Paulo city. It's a 12 million people of inhabitants. Okay, 12 million people lives in São Paulo. It's a crowded city. Okay, it's a different consideration, different technology, and a different solution as well.
Yeah.
So if I may add to this.
Oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead.
So what I've noticed is that traditional leak detection systems have migrated to become theft detection system. But what tends to happen is that the traditional leak detection system were geared, if you look at the typical bow tie, right? On the right side of the bow tie, you have recovery. On the left side of the bow tie, you have prevention measures from making the top event happen. So traditional leak detection systems were installed to prevent, if you have a rupture, you have massive pollution. So they were installed to detect early and, give quick response time. But what you find out is that a lot of these thieves, they are very smart. There are roughly about two types of thieves. The thieves that want to take below the flow rate accuracy of your flow meter, like less than 1%, where many leak detection system or theft detection system cannot go. So they take maybe 0.5% of the total production at a time. So you need very sensitive, accurate system that will be able to do that. Whereas the traditional leak detection system, which tends to be what operators have, operators, tend to have this SCADA system that, rate of change, the kind of systems that traditionally are related to having pressure, flow rate at one end and the other end, and then you do computational methods, software methods. So what tends to happen is that there are fewer technologies on the left side of the bow tie, which is to prevent this from occurring. Things like, fiber optics, which are coming up and being developed. But you see, let me say something. You see, each region has its own peculiarities and will require different approaches to the solution. In Nigeria, for example, I recall one project where fiber optics was actually installed, and these guys went and cut it up. I was at PTC last year, and I was seeing some technologies that required you to put very expensive sensors at different locations along the right of way, requiring power. These kind of solutions will not fly, will not work in a region like that, because people are going to yank it off. Where are you going to get the power? All those sort of things. There are issues. Remember that leak detection system is only responsible for about 40% of the detection of theft. A third, 30% of the cases, people actually called us and said, hey, usually it's even happening when there's a leak. So today, about 30% of detection is actually by phone calls, and then we put boots on the ground and people are walking the line. That's like another 15%. And then inline pigs is responsible maybe for another 10%. So my view is that, solutions have to be such that it's accurate. It can locate the point of leak and then provide enough response time. But although in Nigeria, for me, response is a problem because I don't want to say something that will get me into trouble, but you see, when the people that are required to provide solution are part of the problem, when you have law enforcement that should be policing and helping to stop the problem, being part of the chain, being part of the benefactors, being part of the people that gain from the system, then we have a long way to go.
Okay, Alvaro,
sorry, I talked to myself.
Something here. Yeah. Thanks very much to Olugbenga.
I'd like to talk about our experience in Colombia. Yes, technology did contribute in a great way. Nevertheless, if you don't adequately work with the military or the police, or let's say if the legal framework isn't the right one, to deliver punishments to these criminals, then there will be no results. So it really is a comprehensive problem, and you have to work on all the different kind of aspects. Technology can use us and can help us. You might have technology that isn't that sophisticated to detect theft and to have access to right of way. But if there's no way to ensure that the police reacts on a timely basis and ensure punishment for these criminals, then we won't see any results. That's why I was mentioning the strategy that worked in Colombia, which was really comprehensive because the government committed to making sure that this problem was controlled.
Thank you very much, Alvaro. As our time slot is coming to an end, I try to round up what we have discussed in our round. I think we all agreed that the topic is still there. There are regional differences. In Europe, obviously, numbers going down. In other countries, numbers are not going down yet. But what we believe is that the topic is still there. There are various technologies available. So I think we also agreed that there is not one single solution, but it's a mix of technologies. It's also a mix with combination, with working together. We discussed that sharing of information between affected parties is really useful, and we should improve sharing this best practice information, but also try not to share it with the wrong side of the table. And finalizing, also there was one question on cost, because Paolo raised here which cost we do consider except product losses and the cost of remediation. I just want to add one here thought. When I think about pipelines, for example, in Austria, running to highly sensitive areas and environmentally protected areas. So I think the worst case, for example, is if authorities would remove the operations permit for a pipeline because they believe it's bringing a tremendous threat to the environment. That would mean you would lose supply of an entire refinery, so which could be the worst case for a company like my company. So I think it's hard to evaluate the cost, but I believe the environmental and also the financial threat of illegal tapping can be tremendous. So I really hope that we can meet next time again, seeing you personally. It's a little bit weird talking to the screen and only see my three highly educated and nice colleagues and the translator, but not all of us, not all of you. I really hope that we meet all of you next time at the Pipeline Technology Conference. Thanks to my colleagues. I hope that all of you could take some thoughts from this discussion, and yeah, we are also happy to stay in contact and answer questions also after this session. Thank you, and wishing you all an interesting afternoon.